If you're wondering why video games are struggling today, it's not just because of poor leadership at companies like EA. It's a combination of factors like corporate greed, broken promises, and DEI initiatives. We're seeing unfinished games released to the public, from Battlefield 2042 to Anthem. These failures aren't accidents. They're a result of leadership that's more focused on meeting quotas and cutting costs than delivering quality experiences to gamers. A lot of people want to blame COVID for the state of the gaming industry, and yeah, COVID has caused problems, but here's the truth. Companies have had time to adapt. The real issue now is that these studios are more focused on meeting DEI quotas than on hiring talented developers. When diversity hires take priority over talent, game quality goes downhill. It's happening across the board, and it's ruining games. Now, I'm all for diversity in gaming, but it shouldn't come at the expense of talent. Look what happened with Concord. The backlash was huge when it was revealed that the game was more focused on DEI initiatives like pronouns and character designs than actual gameplay. Players want games that are fun and well made, not forced identity politics. The entire gaming industry is suffering from poor leadership, restructuring, and layoffs. Studios are being shut down, developers are being replaced with less experienced teams, and it's all happening because of corporate greed. These companies aren't investing in talent or innovation anymore. They're focused on cutting costs and pushing out as many games as possible, regardless of quality. Now let's talk about the leadership at EA. Andrew Wilson, CEO of Electronic Arts, has been at the helm of the company while it continues to prioritize profits over game quality. Under his leadership, we've seen repeated failures. Unfinished games like Battlefield 2042, monetization strategies that exploit players, and corporate strategies that have put the focus on financials over creative direction. He also has very little presence on social media platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn. His silence signals a lack of accountability and is forcing the devs to take the backlash for his poor decisions. He hasn't posted on Twitter in a year, and comments on his last posts are all negative. These comments represent the frustration of millions of gamers who feel let down by EA's leadership. The very people who have supported their games for years are now the ones calling them out for broken promises, unfinished releases, and poor communication. And it's the developers who are just following the corporate direction left to take the heat. And then there's Laura Meal, who has been responsible for the restructuring of EA's development teams. Under her leadership, we've seen closures of studios like Ridgeline Games and a huge shift in their resources towards their biggest franchises. This focus on big-name games might sound good in theory, but it's led to layoffs and has stifled the creativity that's so essential to game development. EA has a long history of failure. Time after time, EA has released broken, unfinished games, from Anthem to Mass Effect Andromeda, and of course, Battlefield 2042. They keep making promises to their fans, only to fall short. Most recently, Battlefield 2042 was marketed as a love letter to Battlefield fans, but in reality, it felt like a slap in the face. The game launched incomplete with empty maps, it was riddled with bugs, and nowhere near what fans expected. In their recent investor meeting, EA made the same promises.
But our highly committed team set out to make it right for our community. They've delivered 7 seasons of content, which has resulted in the acquisition and engagement of over 25 million players. So we still have an abundant amount of engagement and massive warfare playing out in this community every day.
Criterion Games. This is an incredibly talented group of individuals with decades of game development experience. They know Battlefield, and now, as a fully integrated studio, they're driving content and experiences across single player. We have a philosophy on Battlefield, to put our community first.
I cannot wait for players to get their hands on this game.
After everything that's happened with Battlefield 2042, it's hard to take them seriously. They have learned nothing from their mistakes, and if Battlefield 6 doesn't deliver, it could be the final nail in the coffin for EA's credibility. If you needed more proof that things aren't looking great for the next Battlefield, one of DICE's key-level designers just quit. A month ago, he was on Twitter saying how excited he was for us to try out his new level, calling it some of his best work yet. Fast forward to last week, and he's announcing that it's his last day at DICE. I think we can read between the lines here. When even the developers themselves are walking away, that's not a good sign for what's coming next. And this raises serious questions about leadership at EA, especially with Vance Zampella now overseeing the Battlefield franchise. Zampella has had success in the past, but can he really turn things around when so much talent is leaving the company? With the recent track record of EA, the future of Battlefield is looking shaky at best. Okay, so let's talk about Ubisoft. Once known for its innovation with franchises like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, is now in deep trouble. The company has lost over half of its market value in the past year, and multiple executives have jumped ship. Reports have surfaced that Tencent is considering a buyout, which shows just how unstable things are. Recently, Ubisoft has faced backlash not only for its failing games, but also for its hiring practices. They've prioritized hiring based on diversity quotas instead of talent, with many pointing to images comparing their workforce from 2007 to 2014. where the shift towards gender diversity is clear. The problem isn't diversity itself, but when it comes at the cost of skill and creativity, you end up with games that just don't work. And instead of taking responsibility, Ubisoft executives have even gone so far as to blame gamers themselves, calling them, quote, non-decent humans. It's clear that the company is not just out of touch, but also struggling to regain any sort of credibility. The failures of Star Wars Outlaws and the delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ubisoft's future does not look any brighter. Thanks for watching the video. If you're tired of seeing your favorite franchises ruined and the games you love being neglected, it's time to say something. Saying nothing only hurts the industry. Not speaking up has never helped anyone. So don't pre-order games without knowing they're worth it, and make sure your voice is heard. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe for more content.